right, I'm going to help you spend your money, but on good things, on productive things. The status is I have 2 cars of sunsetters in. The outer gate is closed. Not allowing any more happy tourists in. The end of another day. Hard to believe tomorrow is the last day of September. Wow, where'd the summer go? But anyway, let's continue on. Let's soldier on our path to enlightenment. I have a really cool book I've been reading. And it's a good asset to your library. This is totally unscripted. I'm tired because I've been talking to people all day long, but I'm going to make time for you because I care. Great Lakes Indians. This is a wonderful book because it covers a pretty wide region from the eastern shores and a little beyond of Lake Ontario, and then the western shores of Lake Michigan, going all the way up to Lake Superior into Canada up there. So you can see it's a big region, a lot of tribes called that home, and actually 3 language groups, and within those language groups were the various tribes. Algonquin would be the biggest one represented with, I believe, 18 tribes. And then to the east, Iroquoian, the Iroquoian language group. And then to the west, the Siouan language group. All of them representing multiple tribes. And so this is arranged in groups, of course. It's the Algonquin and then the Siouan and then the Iroquoian, maybe not in that order. But it's a complete, rich history of groups of people that I have to admit, I'd never heard of a lot of them. But the fellow that did this also did the illustrations, very fine artist. And you notice this one is really piquing my interest here. And this represents the styles of bows that had the scallops on the edges of the limbs. And I've made a few of these, probably more than a few. Beautiful design, especially when you have a crowned back. Now, I'm going to not really get into them. That would be a chapter 12, Menominee. I'm just going to kind of skip through here. Chapter 18, the Sauk. And you can see different maps that show the relationship to other tribes. This is a must read. Now I'm going to casually flip through here because I want to show, well, look at that. Look at that, Manitoulin Matt. An Odawa bow. Now let's think here for a moment. Let's just say, all the bows that have been measured and studied may still be in private collections or museums. What does that represent as far as the total percentage of bows produced? Probably very small, I would say. Most of them didn't survive. A vast majority didn't survive. Now, I need to get away from the mindset of, say, the English longbow, because there are definite, say, proportions and lengths and shapes and stuff like that for bows that are set down. But these folks did not have those rules. Look at that, Matt. It's a gull wing. In an email, you brought up the notion that gull wing bows probably were made. I'm paraphrasing what you wrote, but I agree that it's a good way to make a bow within whatever limits you have. A horse bow, typically shorter. The Great Lakes bows, a little bit longer, but still you can take advantage of the engineering aspects of shaping bows, and setting the handle back and then having the deflex limbs makes a lot of sense. It's not to get too deep into it, the deflex limbs, it's a consequence of string follow. It just happens. There's tension on the back and compression on the belly side. And I've always thought, I might be wrong, but it makes sense. Bows make sense. That it'll compress to a point, everything is fine. It hits a wall, as I say, and then damage occurs when you pass that wall, either overdrawing or you made it too heavy, whatever, designed it poorly. But if you were to take that into consideration, which these folks I'm sure did because they knew what they were doing, that you would let that bow hit the wall. That's the natural bend. I don't want it or don't need to force it anymore. And then bring it back to neutral as far as when you're laying it on the ground or a wall. You know, the tips are touching the wall, the handle is touching the wall. It's good. You can't get something for nothing. That you just set the handle back and restore it. Give it a little bit more oomph. And plus, it's pretty. You know, let's not underestimate just the way things look. And certainly the people that would produce fine beaded work like that understood the sense of style. Now, what goes into a bow? Let's a little thought experiment here. We're going back in time, whether it's the Fox or the Winnebago or the Kickapoo or the Odawa or the Huron or any number of peoples out there, First Nations peoples. What were the I'm blanking here. Talk too much today. The criteria for a bow doesn't need to be any heavier than it has to be. Common sense here. It doesn't need to be any longer than it has to be. It doesn't need to be any more than it has to be. And so you'll have a bow that's probably, 54 inches, unless it's a big, heavy artillery war bow. 54 inches works. 52 inches works. 58 inches works. But now you're getting into the realm of you just have more to carry. What about weight? And I'm not talking about design elements, the width, the whatever, the belly shape, the crown. I'm just talking about what we need as a bow. 40 to 50 pounds. Who here has taken a deer with a 40-pound bow? Who has taken, well, it was a recurve, so it's a different deal, bear archery, 250-pound boar with a 40-pound bow. They work as, it's a matter of shot placement and points. And so within this broad range of criteria, also understanding that there was more difference in bows between individuals than there was between this tribe and that tribe in the Great Lakes region. I can totally see that some would have had the scallops on the side. Some would have had like the fancy Oneida style belly. Some would have been gull wings, but more or less they were just, what was necessary. And there you get that, let's just call it out a number, 54 inches wide, maybe an inch and a quarter to an inch and a half wide, 40 to 50 pounds, maybe 55 pounds, maybe 35 pounds, but just within that range. A lot of leeway. That's one thing I like about it. Sure, you can make this is the stereotypical bow of the Comanche. This is the stereotypical bow of I apologize, a West Coast tribe, the Yanni. This is a stereotypical bow of the Huron or the Seminole or what have you. But yeah, I do think that there were gull wing bows. In conclusion, oh boy, this sure beats the heck out of June and July when I was closing the gates at 10. It's only 25 after 7, and write these on my hands. At 7:34, the people on the beach have to take off, leave the beach. I give them, generous me, 10 minutes of glow time, I call it. After the sun disappears, they have 10 minutes to stand in awe at the sunset, and then via con Dios, amigos. Well, that is all. Appreciate you watching. Wonderful, wonderful book and a good addition to your library. I don't know. There's the ISBN. I don't know if that'll focus, but just Great Lakes Indians, 2nd edition, pictorial guide, William J. Kubiak, who also did the research and did the drawings. A little bit of dessert for that meal. If you like stories, the Trickster Tale book. I have to say that don't leave this book around, if you've got 12-year-olds, because not all stories were what you would consider family friendly. They told racy stories just like anyone would around the campfires. But American Trickster Tales, that's a good one too. That's all I have to say. That's enough.